All right, folks, so we're back. Get you just some basics. And this one we're going to talk about number one enemy, sugar. Sugar is your number one enemy. If you were raised in the generation that I was, my birthday's 81, so 80s, 90s, fat was the enemy. Right, they whole campaigns and try to avoid fat, and came up with things like margarine. You can't believe it's not butter, all that fun stuff. Trying to get us away from fat and cholesterol because they thought that was the cause of heart disease and stuff like that. Little did we know at the time that they were filling us full of hydrogenated oils, which are completely horrible and terrible for you. But sugar. The way that it interacts with your body, the way it affects you, psychologically, physically, the whole deal, right? So why sugar is so bad is you ingest and consume sugar, increases your glycemic, your insulin levels, your glycemic index. And if you're exercising, you're doing something active, your body can use that sugar. Some of that sugar can get stored as glycogen, glucose in your muscles, but for the most part, if you're just consuming sugar, no other reason, this sugar is going to get stored as fat for later use. And this is like the bad fats, like the triglycerides, the cellulite, the bad stuff, right? Why it is so difficult to cut is your brain loves it. You consume sugar, tryptophan gets released in your brain, feels great, it's comforting, you get the comfort foods, you feel good, right? But what happens? It's a roller coaster ride. Your blood sugar spikes, you feel great, you have a little burst of energy, and then what happens? The crash. You plummet off the other end, and now you're in cravings, bad decision making, reaching for whether it's soda, candy, whatever you can find close by that's going to get you back to that high in your brain, bring you back out of that slump. And so it's just up down. You're out of control. You're not basically in control of your your decision making, your habits, your just mental facilities. You're not there. So let's talk about some alternatives. Two naturally found sugars that I would recommend having in your household are pure maple syrup and honey. So we got both of those we keep in our house. Not 100% sure. I'd have to do a lot more research, but these two natural sugars are unique structures. The way that they interact with our body, the way that our body uses them is completely different than processed sugar. So your worst sugar that you can ingest is high fructose corn syrup, because this is super processed, super dense, horrible sugar. It's just not natural for your body. So the maple syrup, if you're going to do breakfast, please spend the extra money and buy maple syrup. I know it's more expensive, but your alternatives, the mainstream inexpensive syrups, are high fructose corn syrup. You've got a couple exceptions. I think Log Cabin's the one that specifically says no high fructose corn syrup, but it's just corn syrup. So instead of high fructose corn syrup, super processed, it is corn syrup. Still probably a little bit better than going high fructose corn syrup, but please, if you're gonna eat pancakes, waffles, whatever you want to put your syrup on, please buy maple syrup. It is healthier for you than the alternatives. Honey can be used for a number of different things, whether you like hot tea, you want to use it as a sweetener for tea because you don't like the kind of bitterness of tea. Put it on a sandwich. Can be used in some baking applications, but both of those natural sugars, just their carbohydrate structures are unique, and they don't interact with the body as much. Their glycemic index is not as high. Just like fructose. Again, not perfect, but again, if you're going to consume calories and carbohydrates, that's your best bet, is to, you know, eat fruits. You know, some are higher than others. Grapes, apples, probably the worst. Your berries are a little bit better, but again, all things in moderation. You know, these things actually have some healthful nutritional value to them, and good for you. But again, it is still sugar, still going to give you that glycemic index. Now, a couple things you can do with foods to avoid that is to try not to just consume sugar by itself. When consumed with fat and protein, it levels out that spike in the blood sugar. It levels that out a little bit. So not by any means promoting that you should eat a ton of French fries or ice cream, but those are two examples of carbohydrates and sugars that have a lot lower glycemic index and a lot lower spike in your blood sugar because of the protein and the fat that you find in those foods. Again, probably not the best things to eat. At the same time, better than some of the alternatives. So for cooking, baking, sweetening drinks, a couple that we keep in the house. Swerve is an erythritol product. Stevia is a natural herb that they grind up and can become a sweetener. And then monk fruit's another one. I believe the monk fruit typically is paired up with erythritol or some other sweetener that again, lower glycemic impact and index, so you can use those for cooking. But cutting sugar out's one of the first and most important things. So please pay attention to your sugars. Blend them, get some carbohydrates with your protein, with some fats. They are the just hardest thing to cut out of your diet because of the neurological effects, the psychological effects it has on your brain. But if you want to get back in control of your eating, your calories, doing something better for your body, start moving away from sugar. There are plenty of other carbohydrates out there that are, you know, not as impactful as sugar on your glycemic index. Healthy for you. I mean, if you're a very active person, you need the carbohydrates for the energy, for exercise. But at the same time, please try to cut the sugar out of your diet. You'll notice a huge difference, the way you feel, the way that your body reacts, as well as you'll be able to start burning off some of the fat stores that you have, and getting away from some of the bad eating habits. So start there if you don't do anything else. Somewhat of an afterthought, but really important. So probably one of the best fortunes I've ever gotten out of a fortune cookie is to avoid temptation, avoid the tempting situation. So this is really important with the sugar. Get it out of your house. We have 4 kids, so we try to provide them with, you know, healthy eating habits and try to let them make decisions and hopefully make good decisions. At the same time, we don't like keep it completely out of our house. For me, it's not as much of an issue as it is for my wife. Like sweets, chocolate, that type of stuff is not my weakness, but it is hers. So she'll binge eat, she'll get stressed out, she'll get frustrated, and she'll, you know, kind of consume stuff that she normally wouldn't. So big thing, if you have the ability, keep it out of your house. If you keep it out of your house, you're not going to be reaching for it in the time of weakness. You're not going to be starting that cycle of sugar craving, sugar craving, sugar craving. So hopefully that's a helpful tip.